Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Officer Bloke Aidan.
I'm Gaynor.
I'm Soph.
Today we have the first living Medal of Honor recipient, Delta Force. I'm not really sure about how this Medal of Honor was given or what the story behind it is.
We watched one which was Medal of Honor, which was the...
Carl Carpenter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Was he the youngest?
I think he might have been the youngest,
Maybe.
Was it the youngest?
I think he might have been the youngest.
Yeah. He covered a bomb, didn't he? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And survived. But yeah, anyway, we're going to find out about this story, about the first living Medal of Honor recipient. So let's get into this one.
In the early morning of October 22nd, 2015, Thomas Paine and his team stormed a prison in Iraq. Their target were two multi-story buildings holding over 70 hostages facing execution. Just as the special forces were engaged in a fierce firefight with the insurgents, the building suddenly caught fire while the hostages were still trapped inside. Time to free all the civilians unharmed was running out at a rapid pace. For what happened next, Thomas Paine would receive the Medal of Honor, America's highest military award. Paine was a motivated and very experienced Delta Force soldier with more than 13 years of service. In 2012, he had even won the Best Ranger competition, an annual 62-hour selection in which only 2 soldiers emerged victorious. In the process, Paine didn't let his severe shrapnel injury, suffered 2 years earlier during a deployment to Afghanistan, slow him down in any way. He deployed to every trouble spot in the world a total of 17 times to demonstrate his skills on special operations. Paine's numerous trainings included a sniper course, as well as the Jump Master and Tandem Master qualifications, which means that he can carry another person who has never skydived before when free-falling. On his current deployment, Paine was in northern Iraq as a deputy team leader to assist in the fight against the so-called Islamic State, which had captured large parts of the country. On October 22, 2015, Paine's team was tasked with freeing more than 70 Iraqi hostages held in the northern city of Al-Havija. The Special Forces had spent an entire week planning the mission and preparing for any contingencies they might face. When new reconnaissance images suddenly showed freshly dug graves outside the prison, it became clear that the hostages could soon be executed. As a result, the task force was given the green light for the mission, and the operators, along with their Kurdish partner forces, boarded several helicopters, which took off toward the IS stronghold shortly thereafter. The Kurdish forces consisted of a unit simply known as the Counterterrorism Group, or CTG, which is part of the Peshmerga and has worked with Americans in the past. Just before dawn, the Chinooks touched ground again, and the Special Forces rushed through the stirred-up sand toward the prison. After the Kurdish counterterrorism unit unsuccessfully attempted to blast an entrance through the prison wall, the Americans used ladders to climb over. While climbing over the prison wall, however, they came under heavy fire, seriously wounding Delta Force soldier Joshua Wheeler. Once on the other side, dust and smoke made it nearly impossible to see. Relying on his training, Paine led his team to the first building, where his medic left to help tend to the wounded man. The Kurdish troops were initially reluctant to move forward, but Paine and his comrades motivated them to advance despite the adverse conditions. On his orders, they successfully secured the building where the first 38 hostages were being held, encountering only light resistance. As they broke the lock on the prison door, Paine could see the expression on the hostages' faces change from fear and despair to excitement and joy. With the tension gone, some of them even began to cry. But for the Special Forces, the job...
What are they taking out of the pockets? Because it seemed the same thing, you like a little plastic bag.
Yeah, I don't
I'm not sure.
Don't know what that could be.
No.
was far from over. While the team was escorting the civilians outside, Paine received an alarming radio message. His comrades at the second building were making less progress and needed urgent help. The enemy had barricaded themselves and was resisting against the Special Forces with everything from grenades to suicide bombers. Paine could hear the noise of the battle all the way to his position and knew he had to act quickly. Saying, "Let's get in the fight," he led his men through the enemy gunfire to the hot zone. Arriving at the second building, he and a teammate climbed to the roof to engage the entrenched insurgents from above. From here, the team leader hoped to break the enemy's resistance, allowing the second team to advance. As the soldiers fought from the roof, they continued to take fire, not only from the enemy below, but also from the area around the prison. On top of that, the numerous explosions had set the building on fire. The flames spread to the upper floor, and some rooms were already filled with thick, dark smoke, causing the trapped hostages to run out of time. The risk of dying from smoke inhalation or even being burned alive increased with each passing minute. After Kurdish and American special forces made several attempts to establish fire superiority and storm the building, they were finally able to push forward, suffering heavy casualties. Payne climbed down to the first floor again, glanced at the prisoner's door, and realized it was secured with the same thick lock as in the first building. The battle for the hostages was still raging, and Payne was aware that to rescue them, he would have to expose himself not only to enemy fire, but also to the toxic smoke that filled the hallway. He had only a few seconds left to make a decision about the fate of the prisoners. He then grabbed a bolt cutter and, despite the enemy gunfire, ran to the steel door where he cut the first lock. The hot air and smoke were unbearable, so he had to go back immediately to take a breath. But there was a second lock blocking the door, and the hostages were still trapped. The Kurdish forces tried to open the lock themselves, but to no avail, so Payne again rushed into the inferno and broke the second lock as well. The combined forces then cleared each room to eliminate possible threats and free all the hostages. At that moment, a second message came in over the radio. The building was too badly damaged and was already beginning to collapse. All forces were ordered to evacuate, but Payne knew there were still hostages inside. Therefore, he voluntarily went back into the building and ran through the
Who was why are these being kept hostage? I don't understand, who's keeping them hostage here?
Yeah, no, because obviously it's the Americans that are letting them out. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure who.
Was it Iranian civilians?
Is that what they said?
That are being kept hostage?
That are
or
being
like,
kept hostage.
Yeah,
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 but
but
who's putting them in
who's
there?
Who's
keeping them
keeping
hostage
them?
and where are
Yeah.
they, type thing.
Because even one of them, then he came running out with his hands up. They're obviously petrified.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you would be if you saw
Yeah.
that all them walking
Because
in
obviously
with
they might not
guns
even know that they're there to help them necessarily.
No, yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
they're
true.
probably so weak, and you don't even know how long they've been there.
No.
Bless
Sad.
them. Yeah.
hallway despite the raging fire, as well as the unclear enemy situation. Many of the hostages were confused and did not know what was going on, but Payne got them all outside. He then returned to the building 2 more times to make sure that no one had been left behind. Only when all people were safe, he left the hostile place and reported to his team leader that they were now ready to evacuate. When the special forces left the building complex, there were still enemies nearby, so they took the hostages in their midst and walked like a human shield to the right and left of them. However, the civilians were so traumatized that they would reflexively stop every time the soldiers opened fire, which delayed the evacuation. Therefore, the special forces decided to cease their own covering fire, exposing themselves to greater danger so that the hostages would no longer be frightened and keep running. After the group finally arrived at the helicopters, Payne faced another problem. Because they had freed so many hostages, it was unclear whether the helicopters could handle all the extra load. After some quick calculations, they were able to get everyone on board, but it was so cramped that the soldiers had to spend the entire flight standing up. In total, 75 hostages were freed, 20 IS fighters were killed, and 5 others were detained. The hostages, Payne's strike team,
so
and Kurdish
it was just ISIS.
ISIS that caught
Yeah.
them, yeah.
20 of them were killed, let's go.
partner forces returned to Erbil without incident. They had participated in one of the largest hostage rescues in Special Forces history. For his actions that day, Payne was awarded the Medal of Honor in September 2020. He is the first Delta Force member to receive this special award, still being alive. The first 2 medals have been awarded posthumously to the snipers Shugart and Gordon for their actions at the Battle of Mogadishu in 1993. Unfortunately, Joshua Wheeler, who had been hit during the assault on the prison, succumbed to his wounds. He had led his team relentlessly against the enemy forces to support his comrades from the other squad. When Wheeler was hit, he was at the head of his men. For the courageous action regardless of enemy fire, he was posthumously awarded the Silver Star. A brotherhood that no one else could ever understand.
quite insane, that isn't it?
I mean, like I've said before, you know, you have to be a special person to go into the military. You know, you literally putting your life on the
Especially
line
to be
every
like the
day.
leader and telling everyone what to do there, and going back,
and making the tough decisions.
yeah,
and
going
stuff.
back twice just to make sure that he's not left anyone behind. So he obviously cares. Do you know what I mean? He's not just doing it because it's his job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's got a passion for
Yeah.
it, and
A good man.
it's very honourable.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you did, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button for us, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.